everybody. Welcome back to another Raincoast Field School at Home. You're here with me, Taylor, again, and we are going to dive into a brand new ecosystem. This week's topic is all about streams. So we've put together a beautiful video for you. We've captured some amazing stream images, and we've hiked a whole mountain just to show you some cool spots. So we're gonna follow a stream as it moves throughout its entire watershed. We're gonna then compare some healthy stream sites to maybe something that's not as healthy. We're gonna look at some awesome creatures living within our streams, and we're gonna go and have a really good time. I wanna say welcome back to all of our returning students. Hello, Wicca Ninish, as well as Yuki Elementary kids, and anybody else joining from other regions, we'd love to have you here. So I think that's about it. Let's go jump into the forest and see what we can see. Right on.
Oh, hey Taylor.
Hey guys, how's it going today? Our lesson is going to be all about stream ecosystems. So we are out here in a stream ready to explore. However, before we begin, there's a little bit of background information that we need to know to fully understand a stream and whether or not it's healthy or unhealthy. So they're going to start the lesson today by asking a question. Do you guys have any idea what the term watershed means? Amy, do you have any idea what a watershed is?
Oh, is that the shed in the backyard where I keep my water?
Not quite. How about we explore what a watershed is a little bit more?
So a watershed is the area of land where all the water drains into the same place. Watersheds can be composed of creeks, streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, and wetlands. But as gravity works its magic, all of this water will end up in the same location. Most water will begin its long journey far from where it ends up.
So let's pretend that me, myself, am a water droplet, and I landed in the forest right here. That means if I was in a watershed, this watershed, I'm going to end up in the same spot as if I was a water droplet and landed here, or over here, even way back here. So out of all three locations of where I dropped in the forest, we are part of the same watershed. So in the end, we're all going to meet in one central location. Okay guys, so now that we know what a watershed is, how about we explore this one a little more? Let's find a stream and follow it from the very top in the high elevation all the way down to the bottom. Let's go hike a mountain, Amy. Amy, can you hear that? It sounds like a rushing river. Let's go find it. Whoa, Amy, we're almost at the top of this river, but check out where it is. It's at the bottom of this canyon. Whew. All right, Amy, we made it to the top. Take a look at our view. Look what we're dealing with here. We are pretty high up in a nice high elevation stream location. Woo! All right, guys, so we made it to the top. But have you guys ever wondered how the water made it up here? You just witnessed me as a human hiking up this mountain by foot, but how the heck does water come up here? Water doesn't hike. Amy, do you have any idea how a stream actually forms? How does water end up on top of a mountain?
Well, Taylor, the answer to your question has to do with the water cycle. As Taylor mentioned previously, all water will be pulled by gravity and be deposited in a central location. Can you guys think of the largest body of water on Earth? The ocean. Let's start our cycle here. The water in oceans, lakes, and rivers will absorb the sun's heat and evaporate. This is the process where water on a surface will turn into vapor and enter our atmosphere. The evaporated water particles then get cooled by the chilly atmospheric temperatures. The particles come close together and form clouds and fog in the sky. The clouds will continue to grow as more and more water vapor particles are added. Once they become too saturated, the water will fall from the clouds in a variety of forms. This is called precipitation, and it can be seen as rain, snow, or sleet. So this is how water ends up high on mountain peaks. In most cases, snow will fall and accumulate. Once it gets a little warmer, the snow will melt and the water droplets will be pulled from areas of high elevation to low due to gravity. The water carves out its path and streams are formed.
So here at the very top of our watershed, where snow might fall and melt and start these stream beds to be traveling down as gravity's pulling it, the gravity's gonna pull it all to the same central location. So it's gonna gather in the streams as it moves down the mountain. But check out way over there, guys. Do you see the ocean? All the water from these riverways are gonna end up in the ocean one day. Let's start our cycle again. All right, guys, I wanna show you a cool spot. Come this way. Let's check out a high elevation stream. Whoa! All right, guys, can you see these big drops in the stream? Or even they can be called falls? I'm sure you guys have all seen a waterfall before. These high elevation streams make for some beautiful scenery. But check it out. It's so loud because the water is moving so fast down this steep gradient that we have up here. So, streams at higher elevation are going to look a lot different than those streams found at lower elevations. So for one, this water is flowing over extremely steep terrain. You just saw me hike that mountain. It is steep. And on its way, it encounters so many drops and falls. And because of this steep downhill slope, the water is going to be moving at much faster rates. If we look over the edge here, you can see that white coloring in the water. It's showing that it's really highly oxygenated water. However, it is quick. Look at that water flow. So if anything were to fall into the stream at this point, things like leaves or twigs, it would be super quickly washed downstream. It's very hard for anything to settle to the bottom here at these high elevation streams. Even super large rocks can be moved by the fast water's force. So for example, let's check out this super cool boulder that's been wedged between the canyon. So at one point in time, this stream generated enough power to push this boulder to its current location. How cool. I wonder how long it's going to take for it to be moved once again. So if we look at this stream's bottom, or the stream bed, it's actually made up of just really large boulders, or even just like a big giant rock face like we have here. At these high elevation streams, like we said, anything that tries to settle is just going to be washed down the stream. And so these big boulders or these big rock faces are what the water's actually flowing over. And over thousands and thousands of years that this water has been flowing here, it's carved out this path. So these high elevation streams are become quite narrow in shape and flow over these bedrock material.
Hey Taylor, does anything live in these high elevation streams?
Well, Amy, we know how steep they are, how fast they're moving, and how narrow of a passage they are, so it's actually a really challenging environment for things to be living in. However, up here on streams, a lot of nutrients fall in from all of the surrounding environments, and then they're transferred downstream, which is really important. As this water continues its journey through the watershed from these higher elevation streams to its lower areas, it's going to encounter some variability in the way it looks and its structure. So how about we go hike down a bit and see if we can spot some of these differences. Okay, but before we continue, let's do a little recap. Can you guys name a few characteristics of a high elevation stream? Write your answers in the chat. So remember, high elevation streams flow over really steep terrain. They're really fast flowing. They're highly oxygenated. Their stream bed is composed of large boulders or bedrock, and there's not much organic material present. So these are all common features of a high elevation stream.
Okay guys, let's head downstream and check out some of the differences that we see at mid and low elevations.
So as we move down the river column, you can see that as our slope is changing, so the gradient of the mountain changes and evens out, you can see that steps are forming. So those drops in the rock as it changes from high elevation to low elevation. Okay, so now we are down from our higher elevation stream a little bit. The water that's now in this section of the stream has traveled all the way down the stream and ended up here. How about we take a look at what we're looking at and see some differences? What can you guys see? Are there any differences from the top elevation stream compared to this stream? Write your answer in the chat. So one of the first differences that you guys might be able to see is that you can look around and notice that it's not as steep. Of course not. We've now come down the mountain, and rather than having the water at such a steep angle, it's definitely mellowed out. And because of this, our water now isn't moving as fast. So the speed of our water has slowed down as well. So that means that the substrate, or the thing that makes up the base of a stream, so the stream bed, is a lot different. These smaller particles of rocks, gravels, and sands are able to settle here, whereas higher up in the stream, in the higher elevation, they're all getting washed down because they're so small and the water's moving way too fast. However, here, our water has calmed down and everything has been able to settle. So you can see the other difference, that there's more boulders, rocks, sand, and little pebbles making up our stream bed. So down here at a lower elevation stream, we have a lot of different microhabitats that happen within the stream bed itself. Take a look at this one little stream reach in front of you here. Can you guys see some variety in the water? Let's look first over here. Right here, we have what is called a pool. And it's where the water is not really moving on the surface, the depth is pretty low, and it's this pooling kind of nice calm area. This is really good and important for fish to be using the stream because it allows them as an area for a resting spot. They're not fighting to travel up deep or really fast water. They're instead just getting to hang out here in this pool. And then just down from that pool, we have the riffle section of the stream. So you can see that the water is moving a little bit faster because the gradient has changed. It's now moving down slope as it then goes over to our large woody debris that are causing some falls in our nice low elevation stream. Another difference that you guys might be able to see is the amount of vegetation on the banks of this stream down here. Even looking up in the canopy, there's barely any light coming and penetrating down to this stream. So Amy, do you know why vegetation on the banks of a stream are important? Do you have any clue what vegetation might do to the bank of a stream?
Does it help with erosion?
Definitely, it helps to prevent erosion. Take a look at this stream bank right here. You can see all of the exposed roots from this alder tree are supporting that bank. And even though the water is coming and washing it, kind of undercutting it, those roots are able to support the bank and prevent erosion to further happen.
Hey, what are you doing there, Taylor?
Well, Amy, I was trying to push that rock over. A really cool thing about a stream ecosystem is that it's constantly changing. So even though that big giant rock may have been sitting in that exact same spot for say 100 years, when a big storm event happens and this river fills up with water and enough water at enough speed is coming, that rock could shift or move and end up in a completely new spot. So our stream structure is extremely variable, which is such a cool thing to think. Okay, so let's recap about our mid-elevation stream here. So at this mid-elevation, the channel width has widened, And so there's more sunlight, therefore able to reach the stream. And this in turn has allowed for more plant production and then therefore bank stability. The stream bed also differs from those higher elevation streams because it's made up of all those smaller rocks, gravels, and sand that have flown down the stream and been able to deposit here due to this more gentle sloped area. And they're able to settle till the bottom. So that's why our substrate or our stream bed material differs. As well, you can see that there's a variety of microhabitats, such as pools and riffles, that are home to a variety of organisms found down here at this mid-elevation stream.
Streams are a crucial part of Earth's circulatory system. They carry sediments, nutrients, and other materials into rivers and lakes and onto the ocean. Healthy streams foster healthy rivers, lakes, and estuaries. But streams are also vital ecosystems on their own, providing wildlife habitat, protecting us from floods, and supplying much of our drinking water. Let's talk about a few factors of a healthy stream environment.
So do you guys think that having large pieces of wood like this fallen log and those logs over there is a good thing to have in a stream environment, or do you think it's a bad thing? Write your answer in the chat.
Historically, people thought that large woody debris in a stream was bad. After an area was logged and excess wood fell into the stream, machinery would plow through, removing the wood. This in turn disturbed the stream bed, compacting the substrate and displacing it. And with the removal of all the wood, habitat and stream complexity decreased drastically. Thankfully, we understand stream health more, and stream protection practices are now a must. Let's talk more about stream health.
So large woody debris is actually a really, really good thing and a super important part of a healthy stream environment. This is because it allows different formations of the stream to be created. It makes those back pools that fish are able to rest in. It also provides a lot of cover and hiding spots for different organisms that are using our stream. As well, it's adding extra nutrients. So nutrients that are from the forest are now falling into our stream, and our microinvertebrates are able to break them down. So, at this section of the stream, you guys can see that our forest has opened up a little bit, and more direct sunlight is able to then penetrate our stream surface. You also can see that a lot of more shrubs on the side of the stream banks are able to grow because of this sun level here. However, with increase in sun means that there's an increase in a stream temperature. What other factors do you guys think would influence the temperature of a stream? What do you think?
The temperature of a stream is extremely important. Most species found living in the stream have adapted to only survive in a narrow temperature range. That means if a stream gets too warm, a lot of the species will struggle.
So a few more influences on a stream temperature have to do with think about the temperature of the air. So in summertime, streams are going to be a lot warmer than in winter. And even in elevation, right? Because at higher altitudes, things are going to be a lot cooler because the atmosphere is a lot colder up there. Whereas down here, we have a wide stream that's not very deep, so it doesn't take very long for it to heat up. We have a lot of sun penetrating it, so that means that our temperature down here in this section is going to be a little bit warmer than up top. However, if temperature rates increase too high, the amount of oxygen that water is able to hold is dramatically decreased. Do you guys think it's really good to have oxygen in the stream or really bad to have oxygen in the stream? What do you think? It's really good to have oxygen because all living things need oxygen, even those that live underwater, which is such a cool thing to think. So if you guys ever notice at really steep sections of a stream, it's really white. Okay, when you look at it, it has a lot of movement, and that movement in it is turning everything white, even if you look at some of the spots here. And that's actually the mixing of oxygen into a stream. So it's really oxygenated, which is really good for those little guys living within our stream environment. There's bugs out today. checked out our high elevation stream. We're down here in our mid elevation, and I got a question. Do you guys think that this is a healthy stream ecosystem, or do you think it's unhealthy? What do you think?
So Taylor, how do you tell if it's healthy or not?
Well, Amy, have you ever heard of a thing called bioindicators? Bioindicators are little organisms that you might find, or species you might find, and if they're there thriving, that means that it's a healthy ecosystem. So they kind of gauge the level of health, and if they're present, then we know that a stream is healthy. So right now we are going to look for 4 different types of macroinvertebrates in the stream to see whether or not our stream is healthy.
Hey Taylor, what's a macroinvertebrate?
So these are going to be our little tiny bugs that are inside our stream. Macro meaning we can actually see them with our naked eye. However, they are really small. And invertebrate meaning they don't have a backbone.
So how are we going to find them if they're so small?
Well, Amy, I brought a really cool piece of equipment today. I brought ourselves a G-net.
Whoa.
Let's go test it out and catch some macroinvertebrates.
Let's do it.
Let's go try and find some macroinvertebrates. So we're going to use our D-net to go into the waterway, and we're going to scrub a bunch of rocks and mix up all the substrate and try and get some of those little guys in here, and at the end it'll all be collected down here. Let's go try it out. So here we have the net, and we're submerging it half in the water, and so it's going to collect all the species as they float downstream. And I'm going to scrub each one of the rocks so that I can get all of the little critters that might be attached to it. Maybe they're grazing these rocks, any of the little algae pieces. We really just want to mix up the substrate and try and collect as many microinvertebrates as we can. And so all of our macroinvertebrates are then going to collect in the bottom of the container, and we're going to empty it out into a few to-go containers, and we're going to take some samples back to the lab so that we can put them underneath the microscope and have a closer look.
Hey Taylor, can we head downstream a little bit further and take a sample that's closer to the ocean?
Okay guys, so we just were in the field and we collected our 2 containers of macroinvertebrates. So we're back in the office now, and we are going to put them underneath the microscope to check them out a little bit better. However, I will forewarn, they're kind of creepy underneath the microscope, and we zoom right up to them, so just bear with me. It's pretty cool to look at, but if you need to look away, no worries there. But before we check them out, we are going to talk a little bit about how we categorize them. So we categorize our indicator species, our macroinvertebrates, by 4 categories. And it's based on their functional feeding groups. So what they eat in the stream, how they eat it, and where kind of they're found will be placed into these 4 groups. And these groups come with some pretty funny names. So we have the scrapers, the shredders, the collectors, as well as the predators. So we're gonna talk a little bit about these 4 functional feeding groups first, and then we're gonna check them out under the microscope. Let's do it.
Shredders are those organisms that chew on intact or large pieces of material. Leaves, needles, flowers, and twigs that fall from trees and shrubs on the shore into the water are the most common food for shredders. Collectors acquire and ingest very small particles of organic matter. They eat the organic matter suspended in the water by catching it with net-like features or other adaptations. Often, they eat fine organic matter that has fallen out of suspension onto the stream bed. Scrapers, also called grazers, remove and eat the algae growing on rocks in shallow water. Predators are organisms that prey on other organisms. They have special mouth parts called mandibles, which they use to pierce prey and hold it while they eat. Okay, Taylor, how about we take a look at some of these guys under the microscope?
Okay guys, so Check out this Petri dish. So I've poured one of our samples in, and you can already see, without even a microscope, the little macroinvertebrates cruising around. Check them all out. Okay, let's take a closer look at some of these guys. Our first little macroinvertebrate is known as a scud, and it kind of looks like a little shrimp, doesn't it? So this little guy is part of the shredder category, and you can see his little legs going so fast. He's helping to shred all of the dead leaves or little things that have fallen into the stream and cycle those nutrients. And if you looked at the first clip, this is a freshwater mussel that the shredder was hanging around. And these guys are grazers, so they go around the rocks, eating up all of the good things. All right, here we see an aquatic worm. These guys are collectors. So they gather up all of the little nutrients and kind of cycle them through. Our next species is known as a caddisfly. These guys are awesome. They make little houses out of logs, or not logs, little twigs. And they are known as the collector shredders and scrapers. So they do a lot for our ecosystem. So this here looks kind of just like a rock. However, it's not. It is known as a water penny, and he's opening up after I scared him in the dish. So water pennies are scrapers. So they scurry around all the rocks and collect all of the algae off, helping to mix it in with the stream. All right, so these are ones to watch out for. These are our predators. They are the stonefly. And so you can see their tiny little hooks on the end of each leg. And this helps them attach to rocks and to grab their prey, which is pretty crazy. And you'll find them up in the headwater streams because they have gills underneath their armpits that helps them breathe dissolved oxygen. All right, so our last little guy here is known as a mayfly, and he is a collector. He'll scurry around and grab leaves and little branches and different pieces of detritus to break down. Amazing little thing. How cool were those bugs? Ugh, they're so creepy, but it's so nice to know that they were found in our stream and that it's a healthy ecosystem. So guys, we were up in the high elevation, we went down to our mid, but we've yet to go to the outlet where our watershed finally attaches back to our ocean. How about we call up our friend Mark and see if he wants to meet us down there? Hey, Mark. Hey, I was videoing there.
Oh, hey, Taylor.
Oh, hey, Mark. Well, Mark, what brings you to these beautiful headwaters down at Big Beach here?
Oh, this is one of my favorite little creeks ever. I love this creek. You know, I love the ocean, and this is a really cool little mini ecosystem right here where you've got this freshwater creek bringing water from way up high in the mountains right back to the ocean. The source, the circle is complete.
So it's kind of like it went through its whole watershed, and this is where it's coming out.
It's hard to say what came first, the chicken or the egg, the creek or the ocean, the cloud or the rain. But at the end of the day, this is where it all heads back into the ocean system.
So Mark, we have a freshwater stream connecting to our ocean water. Is it true that some ocean species can come up this creek?
You better believe it, baby. Yeah, a great example, if you've ever been fishing or even if you like seafood, would be salmon. We've got 5 species of salmon here in British Columbia, and all of them are anadromous. That means that they live in the ocean and also in freshwater. Salmon are born in freshwater, they die in freshwater. They have a lot of adventures out at sea, but they have to come back to the creeks and the rivers in order to lay their eggs and reproduce. So in a lot of ways, this creek is the connection between the marine environment and the terrestrial environment.
So for a salmon to access this creek, I'm assuming it has to be pretty healthy.
You know, you'd be surprised. Salmon can be really resilient, but at the end of the day, there's no doubt that healthy rivers, healthy creeks, healthy streams, they support more species. And that's why even these little tiny creeks are really important. They can serve as indicators of ecosystem health. If everything's in balance and everything's working together and you don't have lots of pollution, you don't have lots of disturbance, you're gonna have a really, really, really complex ecosystem, even in a tiny little creek like this. But the minute you throw pollution or debris or other kinds of physical disturbance into the mix, it's nothing more than a bunch of muddy water over the rocks. But here, where we live, we're so lucky to still have some pretty intact streams, rivers, creeks. That's not to say that they're all in great shape, but at least we have a baseline.
Well, Mark, thanks for that great lesson. We'll see you around town.
Hey, for sure. We'll see you around, Taylor. I'm gonna stream this later.
Hey, Mark. All right, crew, that is it. That is all. Thank you so much for jumping in the stream with us today and learning. We had such a good time, and we definitely saw some beautiful stuff. So remember, we have our Raincoast Challenge now up on our website. So this is going to be that at-home activity that you guys can go and do to continue your learning. And we're going to meet back here at 11 a.m. to discuss those challenges, but to also answer any questions that you might have about this new ecosystem that we just learned. So I thank you again for joining with us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.